welcome everyone. And it's always a pleasure to be here and to have you participating in this discussion because when someone comes here in front, and today we're gonna learn a little bit about the influence, and I need to go back here. Um, Everything that you prepare to speak is kind of put aside because now there is an interaction here. So that is your thought now with my thoughts and the influence of the spirits that are here, the mentors. So we end up with a product that is not quite what we were preparing before. Good? So that's why it is important for us to learn a little bit how these influences happen. And today we will discuss a little bit about spiritual influences. In another word, all kinds of influences that we have, because we are spirits. So we can influence one another, and in the same way that others can influence us as well. But we're going to give a little bit a look on the health aspect. Because talking about influences and just explain the mechanism may, depends how open we are, help us to understand our health situation, our health status, and prevent the opposite of health that we call diseases, okay? So let us dive in on this topic. I would like to make a disclaimer that all this information we gather from those books, the Spiritist books, and studying Spiritism has opened a new perspective in someone's lives, okay? If you're open to learn new teachings, and one of the things that Spiritism is very, I would say, not open, but is part of this teaching is this interaction between the spiritual plane and the incarnated one. Because if we go to the universities, to the schools, to the church, although church also talk about spirituality, but the emphasis in how spirit influences our life and vice versa, Spiritism is the key. And that's why we learn on this, especially in these 5 books, and even like in the Medium's book, that give to us a method so how we can do this in a safe way, okay? So first I would like to ask with questions, okay? So we can be in the same page and understand the proposal that we have today for this discussion about spiritual influence. The first question, who are the spirits that influence us? Now, we are assuming here that, let's concentrate on the spirit, that who are those spirits for people that believes that spirit can influence us? So who are they? So Jeanette says that those spirits, they want that we are in tuning, in synchrony with them. What else? Anyone? Familiar spirits, spirits mentors. What else? Obsessors. Letter D, all above. Yes. So is anyone that we are in synchrony with? And could be those that are familiar spirit or those that are not. So in another word, there are people like us that has passed away that were or were not connected to us. Okay, so Daniel, it's complicated. I can't visualize what you're saying, you know? Well, so everyone has this. What is this? Cell phone. So when I wanted to have a conversation or to contact someone or to call someone, what do I do? I dial here. You know what happened here in this device and how this device is going to connect to the other device, and you're going to establish a communication. So first, there is the thought of the person that's calling. Let me call Leo, okay? So now I type Leo's number here. This number is associated with a wave frequency, okay, wave frequency. This wave frequency, in order for wave frequency to be in the same frequency of Leo's number, Leo's cell phone, he has to have that number as well. So once I formulate the conversation, what I wanted to ask or establish the conversation for him, goes first to the person that's calling. And then this is generated by the spirit, that is the mind of the spirit, that will influence the physical body, our brain, and through all this cascade of reaction, will codify information. This is a biochemistry reaction. We codify information that will be translated to voice. This go to the cell phone, travel to the waves, the sound waves, and the person on the other side will hear. So I establish a connection. So with this, once I establish a connection, the next step would be establish a conversation. This conversation could be positive or negative. So then I have the opportunity to influence that person, okay? So the next question, how many spirits may accompany us daily? How many? At least 4. Many, okay. So first of all, before I pose the answer here, okay, so I'm not gonna ask because we're gonna discuss further down. So, okay, many, at least 4 or above, okay? So you're right. Could be 4, could be many, you know? So depends of, how open you are. For example, let's pretend that I have this place here. If I open the door over there and put a sign or say, hey, it's open to everybody because there is food and drink for free, how many is going to come here? Not many. Depends of the place we are, isn't it? If there is like a place with a lot of people outside in the parking lot, probably everybody wanted to come here and eat or drink. Now, you're right, because the motivation for someone to come here, they need to be in need of something. If you are hungry, you will come, no matter what, because we are looking for something, okay? So we are trying to build here a reflection on this topic. Depends on the vibratory level of our thoughts. Well, if I'm thinking about good things, so I will attract a spirit that is in the same frequency. Well, if I have a feeling of hatred against someone, all the enemy of that person, sorry about point, it's not you, so point over there, all the enemies of that person will potentiate your hatred. That's dangerous, isn't it? What is the type of spirit that may influence us? So now the quality of those. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit faster. Those who find affinity with us due to our vibratory pattern. Okay? How do we attract them? Vibratory pattern or mental pattern. Okay? So, Daniel, I still have a problem to understand what is this vibratory thing that you're talking about. It's our thought. Our thought is a station that emits and receives. Emit and receives, like a radio station. I wanted to listen jazz. I go to the radio station that is playing jazz, and I listen jazz. I don't want to listen jazz. I want a rock and roll. I wanted to listen Spiritist talk. Then you go to the SSB website and you can see a bunch of talks over there in the YouTube channel. What is the objective of their influences? Why? Okay, we are talking about the external influence to us, okay, but is the two-way applies here. So also, what's the objective of us to convince someone or to influence someone to do something? To keep their vices, request something, revenge due to jealous, envy, hatred, resentfulness. Yeah, so here I just put in this sense because when we talk about spiritual influences, people has a tendency to think about, a bad influences. That is the mentors, because that's why I said in the beginning, the influence could be positive or negative. But in the level that we are, in this planet of trial and expiation, in 24 hours in a day, for example, if we do the average of which kind of thought go in people's mind, majority of the time is negative. Because if it was positive, we are living in a beautiful society. Daniel, how do you know this? Just look at the result of our society. Of course, there is a lot of good thing that's been done. Yes. But if our thoughts can modify our environment, so if everybody has good thought, we should not have disease, we should not have violence, we should not have places that we need to put people separate from society. So if we still have those places, because, and of course, we are evolving, okay? Is because tell us that the level of society that we are living is the product of the thoughts of the people that live in that planet. How do you rate schools, college, for example? How do you rate college? Harvard, Johns Hopkins, based on what? Score of who? Pass rating. And also, for example, if you go to big university like, so you see how many Nobel Prize that university has as well. How do you rate schools? How do you rate things? I mean, everything is data. How Facebook can, influence in an election? Because they discovered something very important. How Amazon became the biggest because of data, because they know how to read behavior. If I know what Yasko like it, so it's going to be easy for me to feed her desires. So the spirit, when they look at you, they look at what you desire. What is what you are thinking majority of the time. And they're going to guide you, subliminal message to do that. That's the way it works. That's the way it works from the spiritual plane to the incarnate, from the incarnate to the other incarnate. That's why people, they find the secret, because they learn how to use their mind. They learn how to read behavior. So we can use this for good or for bad. There is people that use their intelligence to take advantage, and that's the way they get. But as we learn, under the divine laws, there is one law that all the laws never fail. It's called law of cause and effect. Action and reaction, okay? So let us go to some of what we learn in Spiritism. So question 459 of the Spirit's book, the Spirit asks, Kardec asks, do spirits have any influence in our thoughts and action? Do spirit have any influence? So we already brought this here before, so we are just like remind ourselves. And the answer is like, their influence upon you in this regard is greater than you suppose. For very frequently, it is they who guides you. Ooh, Daniel, but what about my will, my free will? Yeah, we still have the free will. So let me ask one question. So if you trace back your life, you're gonna find behave on you, because I can find myself, that is result of uh, um, time that we live with certain people, from our parents, for example, from our family, from teachers. There is some behavior myself that I can identify that I learned from teachers in school. Okay? So they had an influence on me for good. But also I can recognize friends that also has some influences on us that we still carry. That's the incarnated one, okay? It's easy to, to identify, because sometimes we go back to our high school and say, oh, this guy was a troublemaker. I became trouble because of, I learned also to do things that because of this person. But guess what? The person changed, I can change, you know? So also there is the positive side. Sometimes we go in a road that is not so good, but then later we find out that we can also change. So that's the good thing. So the influence of the spirit happens, but again, bring the example of the door. If I open the door and offer things that people outside is in need, they will come. There is a case by Chico Xavier. There is a woman that came to, Chico Xavier was this spiritist medium in Brazil that psychographed majority of those books here. And so this woman went to visit him to ask one question. And she was very curious about she wanted to know if black magic, I'm just translate here because there is another name in Portuguese. If black magic, like when people spell, black magic, affect people, you know? For example, someone go to a santeria and ask the spirit to make someone sick, something like that, okay? And she wanna know if this thing works, if this thing was true, okay? So she waited almost the whole day in the line. And she came and she said, Chico, I didn't come here to ask for any letters, anything from my family or from the spirit. I just want to know if black magic happened, exists, if it works. And Chico hugged her and said, my sister, my friend, so let me tell one story, okay? He didn't say yes or no. He didn't say that. He just said, look, pretend that you have a wall, okay? And you open a hole in that wall, and then someone with a stone come and throw a stone in the wall. So what do you think is going to happen? And she was like, that's a bad, not so. She said, wow, if the stone go through the hole, it's going to pass through. I says, yes. Now, if I go over there and close that hole, and someone get a stone and throw in you, and you are on the other side, so what's going to happen? So it's not going to pass because there is a wall over there. So I found that answer very, very interesting. So, of course, it was a metaphor to explain that if we are open to accept that energy, definitely we're going to get sick. Definitely it's going to work, you know? So the question here is, how can we protect ourselves? How can we protect ourselves against that? Well, the same thing we protect our body against disease. You know, if you decide, I'm not going to eat, or I'm not going to sleep well, your immune system will start to go bad, go down, and guess what? Sooner or later, you're gonna get sick. Okay. So, just parenthesis. So, talking about sick and health, since this is also this reflects about how can we also, by learning this, become more healthier. So, the World Health Organization define health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Well, there is a lot of people out there that are healthy in the body but sick in the mind, and vice versa. There is a lot of people that out there, maybe here among us, that the body is not so healthy, but the mind is it is healthy. Okay, so everything is how you we work your mind, and we're gonna see down in our presentation that the mind is the key. The mind is the key. There is no magic bullet or secret formula. Everything is on us. We have the power. How we gonna exercise? How we gonna strengthen this power? That is the question that we need to answer. So, talking about influences, and as we mentioned at the beginning, can go up and down, can go left and right, can be positive or negative. The same way we can instruct someone to be a good person, but we can instruct that person to be a bad person, or another person to be a bad person. Everything depends of the intention. Everything depends what would be our end goal. Okay, so one of the things, as you mentioned, that is related to our mind. So if I ask, so what is mind? What is thought? Is the same? Because we need to define this to understand. Is our brain the one that produces the mind, or the brain produces the thought? Who is here in this jungle here? We need to give name. We need to give name to the animals, plant, because it's important for us to understand that. A lot of our problems happen because we don't understand yet. We don't know. That's why read books and instruct ourselves will help us to minimize our pains. So first of all, in spirit, we have the spirit is in the universe. We have the creator, God. We have two elements that was created: a spirit, intelligent principle. This intelligent principle will become the spirit, and a material principle that, by condensation, will make matter. Okay. So the spirit has the mind. So the mind resides in the spirit. This spirit, in order to connect to our physical body, they need to have a spiritual body that we call perispirit. If you go to other philosophy, you're going to call another name. Astral body. Doesn't matter the name, okay? So we need this interface. So when we come to this life, and we have been lived other lives, we need this body. This body, the spiritual body, or the perispirit, is the body that recorded everything. Remember when Jesus taught us that, let paraphrase here, he says that the sin was not only in action, but also what you say and what you think. Because everything that goes through our mind, the mind of the spirit, passes through the spiritual body, that's the perispirit, go to the brain codifies the information, and then we act, or not, or react, So it's important for us to understand that the thought is the product of the mind. If the mind is a sick mind, the thought is going to be a sick thought, and vice versa. Make sense? I hope so. So when we talk about thoughts, we are talking about these different levels of thought. There is the subliminal thought, and there is the ostensible one. The one that I'm think right now, oh my goodness, I hope this thing finished so I can go home and have my dinner. Something like that. That's not the case here. I'm talking about other people that's outside. But there is the subliminal one. That subliminal thought is where all the companies, all the business works. You know, you wanted to sell a product. You wanted to sell a product. You need to work in this subliminal behavior, subliminal thought. You need to. That's why Coca-Cola was so famous, isn't it? Because you know, in the 50s, the 60s, when they learn about this, and this thanks to science, because that's come from neuroscience, studying behavior, human behavior, show that you know you are looking here. Leo is sitting in the back over there. So he has a logo here, okay? So you may not pay attention to the logo of his shirt, okay? You're just looking here. I'm just put myself in there, okay? But suddenly looking over there, I saw a sign. I don't want to know about, but my brain already registered. There is something different over there. At some point, the brain want to know what is that. It's marketing. It's called marketing. Yes. So in our daily life, we have thoughts that come and go. We think 24/7, okay? Some of those thoughts, they go to our conscience, you know, and then we become aware. Okay, I'm thinking that now I need to drive my car. You know, once you get in the car, so now because you already learned how to drive, your brain is going to tell your body, you don't need to think about driving. Just go to the subconscious. And then we start to driving, put lipstick for women, and guys start to call. And when we look at our, oh my God, how come I just arrived, I didn't even pay attention? Because now the brain starts to be worried about other things. I need to, you know, have a meeting with my boss. I need to prepare for this. And you are driving. You are driving. You are doing everything. The brain is not aware. I mean, the conscious level is not there. So it's the subconscious. So that subliminal thought is where the spirits also act. Let me see what, there is a case in the book Action and Reaction, I think. I think it's Action Reaction. I'm sorry, I forgot the book, but the case is about, so this guy, there is the not evolved spirit that wanted to make him stop to, okay, I know now. It is action reaction. Okay, this is a case, I think I already mentioned this case. This is a case about Andrea Luiz and his friend Spirit. They want to know how spiritual influence happens, okay? How obsession happens. So they went to the lower zone in spirit. I'm talking about a case of, they went to a lower zone where there is a case of two spirits that they wanted to cause a problem in a family that was incarnated. And this is two brothers that was murdered when they were in the physical body by the other brother. So it was three brothers, okay? So the father died, and all the property, the inheritance, needs to be split for the other two. So the oldest brother, clever, you know, said, okay, I'm gonna get rid of these two brothers, so I can have all the property, all the inheritance for himself. So he plotted not a crime, but an accident. One of an accident in a lake, and so he gave alcohol and make him, you know, drown over there and left him. He did. One of the brothers died. The other one, I forgot exactly what it was, but so make the story short. So what happened? Andrea Luiz went over there to learn with these two brothers how their influence start to kill or to cause harm to the one that was still incarnated. So the way that they are doing this was very interesting because Andrea Luiz asked, so how do you do, what's the mechanism? And I said, well, we just do, it's very simple. We pay attention what he thinks during the day, what, what he thinks the most, okay? And we realize that there is a pattern in the thought that majority of the time during the day, he's thinking about how to make more money. He already was rich, but he wanted, how can I be more rich? And so what we are doing, we are like potentiate that. Potentiate that. So is that thought that we're gonna potentiate until a point that he falls in abysm? Because the business, so we potentiate him to go to a situation that the business is not gonna, it's not gonna, so he's gonna be risky. So he's gonna be in a situation that he really, is not able to make a lot of money, so he may end up killing himself. So the whole idea is to make him commit suicide. So I'm not saying here that people that commit suicide is because of this. It's just an example for this book. So this is something that really scares us. But on the other side is our awareness for us to pay attention what kind of desire, what kind of willingness you have during the day. Because this can be potentiate. So now think the opposite. Well, I don't have any skill in life, but I like to do this. I like to paint. I like to, I like to, let me do things to help other people. You don't know how to begin. So what's going to happen? The spirit that likes to do that will connect to you, will potentiate that feeling. So when you end up, you become a pro without going to school. We learn how to do stuff. I mean, we all here have some kind of those experience in our life. We don't know how to do it, but then we start to do it. We end up doing the right way one day. So talking about those influence, we have those type of influence from incarnate to incarnate. I don't need to explain this, isn't it? So when we influence one another. And here is something that unfortunately happens a lot in our society, especially in the family setting. The influence that one member has upon another member, because it's the first school that we have, is our family. So we have the influence of our parent. And sometimes the parent really have the intention to help their children. But there is a line, a thin line, that we need to go as a parent and vice versa. Because if we cross that line, we may compromise the life of that spirit. Because then the spirit is not living based on the experience of the spirit, because now the spirit has so much influence of the other incarnate. And this happens a lot. Okay, so this is incarnate to incarnated, okay? Discarnate to incarnated. Well, someone that hated us a lot, died, went to the other side, didn't become an angel, what are they going to do? They may continue obsessing you, okay? That's why Jesus said very wisely, make friends or make peace with your enemy when we're still walking with him or her or them, okay? Because of this, because if they discarnate, then it's going to become complicated. Incarnate to discarnate. There is a couple of cases in the spiritual literature that explain this situation. And here there is a case that I heard from Divaldo Franco, true case, that he was the mention of the way, and until he was seeing people after he gave a talk, and was already midnight, and this couple came to see him, and the mother, the couple wanted to have a talk with Divaldo about the son that has discarnated. So and they ask about, the situation of the son in the other side. And Divaldo said, I don't know, but let me connect to Joanna here and let me see, if I can have any information. So the situation was the son has been already passed away for like 12 years, something like that. And the mother she never could accept it that the son was not alive. It was very painful, and I think only those that go through this experience know what it is, because if we never have go, so you have no idea how it is. So then she was explaining that it was very deep for her to let it go after like 10 or 12 years. When he was listening to her, he saw the spirit comes of the son, and and the spirit told what's going on, you know. And so, and Givaldo has very kindly to talk to her and explain, look, your son is here, and your son is saying that, what you are doing is not helping him on the other side. And the husband didn't know that. And she was like surprised. And then Duval said, he's telling me here that what you do every day is not helping him in the other side. Because what she did, she kept the bedroom of the son intact. She didn't change anything. And so when the husband used to leave to work, she goes to the bedroom like for a couple of hours during the day and cry and go to the closet and pass her hand in the clothes and smell the clothes. So that act that was very strong affected him in the other side. And he couldn't move on because she was putting so much intention in that experience because she was longing, she was missing the son. So her intention was a good intention, but became crossed that line. That now she's became an obsessor of someone that was discarnate. This case is incarnate to discarnate. So she was incarnated and he was discarnated. So she was influenced him in a negative way. Discarnate to discarnated. So the best example of this last one, we can find this in the book Liberation. Excellent book. Excellent book. The book Liberation shows how spirit, when they discarnate, they form colonies in the other side, and they can slave other spirit to do what they want those spirits to do it, okay? So now, one thing that's very important, bring this to our side here, levels of influence, or we can say levels of the obsession. So in Spiritism, we use the word obsession to define a negative, persistent influence of a spirit or one of those situations here upon another person, okay? So it could be incarnate to incarnate. So if this influence is negative and persistent, we call obsession, okay? So, for example, mediumistic meeting, we do what we call disobsession. Means like trying to convince that spirit not to go after that person. Okay? Spiritism is a science. As a science, we have also a nomenclature. So we have different denominations to explain things that, probably other philosophy has different names, has other names. So the levels of influence, we learn this in the Medium's book, chapter 23. So this chapter 23, if you have a chance to read. I read again because I wanted to, remind myself about those levels of obsession. And in this chapter, talk about the types of obsession, how we get in those, and also explain how we cannot get rid of those. So Kardec mentioned three types: the simple influence or the simple obsession, the fascination, and the subjugation. These are the three type of influences, okay? So if I'm gonna, let's make this easy. So the influence that we have upon our friends or our children or vice versa, husband to wife, so may have these three levels, okay? But this is for the negative side, okay? For the positive side, there is no classification. It's positive, okay? The negative side, so it has simple, fascination, subjugation. The last one that we call subjugation, Kardec decided to use that word because in that time, we have another word for that the church, the Catholic Church especially, used a lot, that called possession. Possession. So possession, especially like when they have the exorcism, okay, which means that someone was possessed by a spirit or evil entity. So they used to go over there and remove that entity. In Spiritism, we call this obsession meeting or this obsession meeting. So it's the same approach with different method, okay? And in Spiritism, we don't remove the spirit. We try to educate the spirit. Because that spirit that is doing evil or cause problem to someone, if we don't take the opportunity to show the other side that that spirit is also a child of God, he's going to move on or she's going to find another person. And we never help to change our society because, you know, we just like postpone or pass the problem from one to another. So let us go a little bit about what is the simple obsession. The simple obsession, we all have those simple obsessions or the simple influence. We all here are influenced by others, discarnate and incarnate. The difference is that in the simple obsession, for example, for this negative influence, the person knows that he or she is dealing with a deceptive influence. An example, I know that what I'm going to do is not good. And then there is that force inside of you, should I do, should not? No, I'm not going to do it. So the influence that is on you to do it was break because I decide through my will that I'm not going to do it. But then I said, no, I don't want to drink, but I'm going to drink just one glass of, you know, and that's it. And then you drink one glass, not bad. But then when we end up, you drink 10. So what happened to the number 2 to number 10? So it's those kind of simple things that I'm not going to do it. But then the other day we woke up and said, oh, I should have not have done that. So what happened? You do things that initially you have that desire to do and this potentiate. That negative influence is potentiate. And then you end up doing. And then you recognize, you accept, okay. But sometimes the subliminal thing, you even attribute this to a spirit. You just say, oh, you know, it was my friend, keep pushing me. But your friend is also under that influences. Okay? So when you talk about simple, it's the things that still happen in the level that we are. Okay? Example, simple obsession or influence could be like, there's some people that is like very, leave their home, and this happened to me. Like, oh, did I close the door? Let me go back. So, and then that thought in your mind, like, nowadays with cell phone, so you have app, you just go to your cell phone and make sure. But happens to me before cell phone, like, I don't think I closed the door. And then that thought starts to come to your mind. You become like, you're not you anymore. So you need to make sure, so, you know, because they distract you. When you leave, they distract you, so you don't remind. This is something simple. Now, if this thing evolves, then can become a problem. The second one, the fascination. This one is very dangerous. is one doesn't believe that she or he are deceived. Spirit managed to inspire them with a blind confidence that prevents them from realizing the wrong decision or the wrongdoing. So this is the case of people that they don't think that what they are doing or what they are writing, will be harmful. They don't realize that. They think what they are doing is the right way. And the spirit, what they do, they potentiate this. They inspire that side of the person that will create a problem. So this fascination here is dangerous because the spirit has the control in the judgment of the person, but the person also contribute for that. They know, they are aware. I'm aware that what I'm doing is the right thing. And they don't open any situation or any moment to evaluate that decision that he or she is going to make. That's we can see a lot of people, in high level of political arena to down, that they think what they say is right all the time, and they discard what other people, even like professionals, is saying. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, subjugation is a constructive is a constriction that causes each victim's will to become paralyzed, making them act in spite of themselves. So this is the case of people really that they lose completely control. The influence is so strong that even the judgment of the person is not there anymore. Okay? So, and this subjugation can be physically and can be also mental, So physically, sometimes the spirit even force the person to do things that the person doesn't want to do it, Okay, we are almost... Now I will bring some of the information that we learn in the spiritist literature. For example, in this book, in the domain of mediumship, Emmanuel says that the body, electronic cyclone, is guided by our conscience. So we already mentioned this in the beginning, that everything that happens in our body is the consequence of what our mind is vibrating, isn't it? So also in this book, Evolution Toward, Andrea Luiz mentioned about, they talk about, chapter 8, they talk about the impulses of the mind, okay? The mind, not the thoughts, the mind. The thought is the consequence. So, and what I summarize here in a scheme that is better for us to understand. So he describes and he talks about our minds control our organism, okay? And so if we study our organism, we're going to learn that all the reaction that happen is controlled by enzymes, proteins, endorphins, hormones, cell renewals. So everything that happens in our body, has the command done by the mind, okay? So it's like, again, I will bring the car here. The car is as if it is our body, okay? The driver is the spirit. So everything that the car has its own intelligence, okay? But it's controlled by the driver. Our body has its own intelligence, but it's controlled by the mind of the spirit. So whatever the drive is doing with the car is going to do it. If you brake, the car is going to brake. If you speed up, it's going to speed up. If you wanted to fly, we'll fly, If you wanted just to drive like a 40 miles per hour in a highway, that some people do that, there is nothing that we're going to make you not to do it. So the same thing here. The intelligence principle, the spirit, through the mind of the spirit, will control, will send the command. Once send the command thing becomes automatically, okay? So right now, I'm breathing, the cells is working, my digestive system is working, my heart is beating, I hope so, and I don't need to worry about that. I really don't need to worry. The only thing I need to worry is hold the cell phone, stand up, and think logically, and try to pass to you the information that is in the higher level of the mind of the spirit. So, but what happened to our body is the consequences of me as a spirit living all this lifetime, okay? So, controlling this, we determine the physiological status of the physical body and will give the status of equilibrium or disequilibrium, balancing or unbalanced. And we define our health or our illness. Do you remember when we talked about health and perispirit here, like last year? Do you remember we brought the definition of disease and illness? Is the same? Yes or no? Who remember that? So we mentioned that disease is different of illness. Disease is related to the organ that is sick, is damaged. The illness, not necessarily, we can be ill without having a disease. This is a definition by medical, terminology. So, since we are talking about spiritism here, so to almost finalize, process of influence or communication. So we learned that we have this universal cosmic fluid that is where all the energy, everything is derived for. So through our thoughts, our will impact this universal cosmic fluid, and this we're gonna give quality to that. Okay, so the influence could be a harmful influence, depends of the quality of your thoughts and also the will that is the driving force of that influence. What about good or bad influences? So let's read a couple questions from the Spirit's book. Question 461. How can we distinguish between our own thoughts and those that are suggested to us? Kardec asked this question like 163 years ago. No, something like that. How can we distinguish between our own thoughts to those that are suggested to us? Let's read. When a thought is suggested to you, it is like a voice speaking to you. Your own thoughts are usually those that occur to you at first impulse. This is beautiful because we are not a product, a marionette. How do you say? Marionette of the spirit. No, we are not. Say again? Puppet. Puppet is better. Yeah. We are not a puppet of the spirit. Let's not start to blame the spirit for our mistakes, because that's not the. But since we are in this environment, fluidic environment, it's like we are inside of a pool, okay? No matter if you wanted to be in the corner of the pool, if someone is on the other side make a wave, will affect us. One splash or wave, whatever, will affect you. So no matter how much you say, I don't want to worry about the political arena, this is will affect you if you don't do your citizen obligation. I don't want to think about it, No, it will affect you. So how you do that is on each one of us. We're going to be doing this, going to the street, making activism, or read, learn about. But at the end of the day, you need to do your little contribution, because it's going to affect you. It's going to affect you. So I didn't put the whole answer, but the answer is is a little bit more than this. And the Enlightened Spirit suggests us not to worry much about this. Because if we try to find out, is this my thought? Is the other people's thought? We're going to become crazy. And the decision that we're going to make we're not going to have much validation, if you know that the thought is yours, or because thought is mine, I'm not going to do the bad thing, or vice versa. And if I'm going to do the bad thing, oh, it's not my thought, it's the other person's thought. So in order for us to avoid blame, it's better not to know. But we wanna bring this because we are also responsible for our actions. How can we tell if a suggestion thought comes from a good or an evil spirit? I think this is kind of easy, isn't it? Study the matter. Good spirits give only good advice. It is your responsibility to make the distinction. I mean, the ball was passed to us. So they are not there trying to do our homework. We need to do our homework. That's why we need to study, we need to improve ourselves in order for us to make this decision right, the right decisions, okay? Because otherwise there is no merit. Can you believe you go to school and then you get the homework and someone is going to do the homework for you? What's the merit? None. Can this person by themselves repel such evil spirit and free themselves from their domination? Talking about this. Can we by ourselves repel such evil spirit and free ourselves from the spirit influence or domination? You can always rid yourself of any burden when we have a firm will. That's beautiful because we see sometimes a lot of people saying, oh, you know, I cannot do this because the environment that I lived didn't help. There is some influence on this. Because, you know, I came from northeast of Brazil. And, you know, I didn't have the opportunity that you have. Come on. We need to stop with this. Because the opportunities given to everyone. If we are born in Africa, in Central America, even here in the US, we're going to have the necessary means to do the best that we can. Now, we can blame the environment. We can blame our parents. We can blame others. There is nothing wrong. There is nothing saying during the reincarnation that we cannot do that. There is not. But here's the thing. Firm will. Can you believe if Thomas Edison has not had this firm will? First, probably we are not going to be here with these lights. Daniel, but it's different. Yeah, it is different because we are in different level. Maybe in this lifetime we didn't have the firm will. But we have many others lifetimes that we can exercise this. So it's better today learn that we need to exercise this. Many times we miss the boat, you know. We miss the boat. And then we say, well, there is experience that a Kissing mentioned here, and I saw the video. This chemistry professor not in high school, in college, the first day of school, what he did, he got all the students around in the lab, and there was like a glass of milk or substance that was close over there in the not in the shelf, but in the table. So and then he didn't say anything. He was walking by and tapped the glass of the substance, and the vase splashed on the floor. And everybody was like, what is this? What is this professor want us to teach us? Well, he didn't say anything. And then he said, you know what the lesson on this is that don't waste your time with things that you cannot repair. You know what I mean? So don't waste your time with something that is in the past that you cannot go back to the past. Nobody can go back to the past. Nobody. The past is the past. Okay, can we learn from the past? Yes, by starting today. But we cannot change the past. And then we become the rest of our life Worry about the past, the past. Forget it. You can't go back and change the past. That's why we have the forgetfulness of the past in the gospel. So to finalize, I'll go therapeutic tools. So we're gonna leave here today, um, include myself, with this reminder. Okay, this is something that we have been talking in the SSB many times. Now, mental renewal. What is this mental renewal? First, to change something, you need to know. You cannot change things that you don't know. So first, we need to do this self-analysis, self-discovery. So self-discovery. So Daniel, example of this, and I think I gave this example before. Procrastination is something that nobody here has, only people outside. Okay. Procrastination is something that is a problem. Is a problem, and I can put myself on this, and I have been like in our study groups. Oh my goodness, procrastination is something that really, can mess up with your life. Messed up in the sense that later you're gonna look back and say, "Oh my goodness, why I didn't, you know, start doing that?" And I'm saying this because what we learn in the spirits literature is that when especially spiritist people, when they discarnate that go to other side, one of the things that they regret the most is that they look back and say, "Oh, I should have done more." It's not because I did other things. That's the thing that's gonna stay in our conscience. So mental renewal. So for example, if you, oh my goodness, what did I do here? It's because it's the last one here. Sorry. So if you find yourself something that is you cannot change, so start to think about change that thing. So if you have the habit to always get late someplace, just try to get a little bit early, 5 minutes late, then 1 minute late, and then on time, and then one day you arrive like 10 minutes before. You know what I mean? Just an example. So we start with something practical. Don't try to change things that is not yet practical. Try to change things that's the practical, because if you change this in the practical way, automatically you are doing other things, because you're training your mind to do that. Discipline, discipline of our discipline of our vibratory pattern, our thoughts. My English is almost done for today, okay? So how do we do that? How do we discipline our vibratory pattern? How do we discipline our thought? Substituting our bad one for the good ones. Example, Joanna DeAngeli mentioned this in the Happy Life. I'm thinking about my coworker here that has been a pain in the neck. Let me try to see good quality in that person as well. So we try to substitute the thought for the person, not like this person is bad. Oh, let me think about my friend here that's good. No, that doesn't work. It's to the person that we are saying the negative thoughts. I don't like those people that come from Asia, for example, because that is the coronavirus now, and I don't want to be close to them. My goodness. So you got to level everything because they are Asians? Come on. What is and people that follow Jesus, Christians, saying this, We see this a lot of videos in YouTube. Talking about Jesus, one thing that we learn here with these influences is that I didn't learn this, I don't know if you know, but when we look at the gospel, especially like never read that Jesus got sick. We never learn that the disciples get sick and die with leprosy. Everybody died because was persecuted. That time there is no medicine. So why is that? Why they are not affected in the disease state of the body? Because they achieve a level of vibratory pattern that no disease could make their body sick. So there is one person in the gospel that died because had leprosy. Mary Magdalene. Why? Because she has a guilt. Although she was the one that showed the utmost transformation, that's why Jesus appeared to her first. But inside of her, the guilt process that she carried because the lifestyle she had before, that life, she couldn't get rid of that. And the way to minimize that was going to the place that people that has leprosy was forgotten and helping them. The process to help them, she contract that. Of course, she was already in a different level. But none of the people that followed Jesus died because of this. They died, but not because they. So, and I asked this question: Why is that? That time, that medicine didn't exist. There is no antibiotic or aspirin or something different. The mind of the verb. Oh, Daniel, the faith. They are faithful. Yeah, but the faith is a product of the mind. So when we look ourselves and see ourselves in getting, okay, it's good because the disease of the body is the healing of the spirit. The disease of the body is the healing of the soul. So at the end of the game, everybody is going to be okay. So there is no bad news for anyone, okay? Inner transformation, vigilance, practice good action, and prayer. So I know that we all here know this, but I think doing this, going back and reading about this again, is a reminder for ourselves. So I hope you can bring some of those reflection to your home, and let's make an effort to be better than, much better than we were yesterday. So that's the idea, so we can move on in our life, helping one another, and keep a good vibration pattern, okay? Thank you. Couple questions, then we move on to our passes. Leo, you wanted to ask the first question today? Okay, or comment. Please, don't ask question, just make comment.
Now I have to put a time stamp on this and connect it to what we're going through right now as a society. And for some of us, it will be funny, and but I know that you will bring a level of enlightenment on this. So if I watch my thoughts do everything that you're saying over here, bring it over here, I will not contract the coronavirus. Right?
That's a good question, not contract the coronavirus. Not sure about that, because you need to take in consideration not the thought for today, but the average of thoughts you have bring from not only this lifetime, but also the previous lifetime. Because the thoughts that you had in previous lifetime and the action you have done in previous lifetime is recorded in your perispirit and is vibrating, it's pulsating. So even though if you spend the whole day thinking about positive meditating, that's not a guarantee you're not going to get sick, because you still have some debts that you need to pay. So I mean, like, you can try, but there is no guarantee. Yeah, and it would be like very irresponsible for myself to say that. Oh no, it just we are immersed in this pool, in this environment. Comment, yes. What is that?
You want to say?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thinking of us in average, of course, we are not yet a good person without weaknesses. But also, we're not that evil, completely hopeless evil, the other side of the spectrum. So, if we look at us trying to see what we already mastered in terms of overcome our, some kind of problem or weakness, procrastination. We don't procrastinate in everything. There are certain things that we procrastinate more. So I was wondering, how could we now try to better ourselves in this area that we still shaky? Because those that were really bad, like addiction, the influence, the evil or the spirits, they don't need to make any big effort. Because that guy is going to the bar and he's going to drink a lot and he doesn't need to put any effort because he can go there and sniff together. And also that those that are very good, and very firm, like you said there is no way for the influence to change that part of the person. So I'm not thinking group of person. No, part of me that is firm cannot be influenced. If I had a really bad one, also they don't need to make any big effort. So I was thinking things in between. Oh, what kind of trick we should use in order to change the needle towards, the goodness, the betterment, something like that. What kind of trick you use, like, well, I don't need to make my bed in the morning. What kind of trick we should use? I start to use
Yeah.
some trick, of course, thinking that some bug may
Yeah.
enter and then when I come without any care, the bug is gonna be there, hiding,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
I don't know for the kids what kind of thing you use, especially with your kids, right?
Yeah, and I think this is a good question, and I think this also go from person to person. But there is one thing that works for sure. For example, we're gonna get an example here. Um, if you wanted to lose weight, if you wanted to go to the gym, so if we look at someone that has been exercise or work out for like 3 or 4 years with all the six packs, package 12, I don't know how many. So we immediately feel inspired. Oh my goodness, I wanted to have that body. But then if you go to the gym expecting that, if you lift like 100 pounds for one day, that will make you like that, is silly. It's not gonna happen. So why I'm saying this? Because sometimes we wanted to become a better person and you choose the most difficult problem for us to change. And that is where we lose the game. Instead, looking and do the 24/7 and look at the small problem that we have, the small vices. That's where we need to work in the small one. Because the big one probably was built for like in the last 10 reincarnation. Is not in this reincarnation you're gonna a lot of people is gonna die, majority of us is gonna die, feeling a little bit jealous, a little bit impatient, a little bit angry. Someone is gonna die feeling jealous all the time. It's not gonna change in this lifetime. But we have those things. We cannot change that because that is part of our evolution. Is rooted in pride and selfishness. So we cannot uproot those. So let us go easy on that. Let us go easy on that. So we need to identify. We know what the ones that's very strong on us. You know, I know. I know my, how do you say, my weakness, my vices, Sometimes we don't do it. Maybe I don't go and drink the way I drink in the past lifetime or have crazy things that I have in past life. But I think the thought comes to our mind and then you control that. And then I wanted to do this, but it's not right to do. So I'm in the process. But there is the small ones, you know. You get upset. So the small ones, we start for the small ones, and then when we find ourselves, we are already working the big ones. So one thing, for example, when I get my office every day, I have emails, I have tasks to do it, and so I look at all this, look at the deadline, and if the deadline should close, I start for the easiest one. Easiest one. Okay, so what is the easiest one? Okay, it's just make a determination. This thing here, let me go to this. And then I feel motivated. Move to the next one. Move to the next one. Then when you end the days end, so I get all my tasks done. So this is a strategy that works. If you just put yourself on this, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to clean the house. Oh my goodness. Don't think about clean the whole house. Just like, let me clean the sink here. And then you feel, oh, let me clean here. When end up, you clean the whole house. That's the way. I don't want to do that. But it's a small thing. The change, big change, start with small change. So that's the secret. There's no other formula here. If you know, tell me. Okay, guys, what else? Any comment? Any? If not, let us move on to our passes, and then we can continue our conversation after.